Hi everybody. Alright, we are at part 2 of Fever House by Keith Rosson. So I finished the second half of the book. My book got water damage. I'm so upset. And it's my own fault too. I can't even blame anybody else. But I finished the second half of the book. A lot of shit happened. Oh my god. Spoilers ahead, by the way. All the spoilers. So let's get into it. All right. So at this point, a lot of people are dead. A lot of characters. I don't know if I'll have room to keep talking about everybody and write them down, but we will write them down at the top. We've got Wesley, the meth addict that was like, oh my god, I'll never die. That guy. We have Don Sr. He was the ex-cop. He's the one who killed Wesley because Wesley bit him in the face. We have the random civilian who, during the shootout between Wheels and Tim, got shot. We have Tim, who is Hutch's partner. Tim basically sacrificed himself so Hutch could get away. We have Peach, who was the boss of Tim and Hutch, and Don Sr., who at first was telling Tim and Hutch to go get his money from Wesley, and then was telling Tim and Hutch, okay, well, I want that hand now, because I collect things. Then we had the maintenance man who lives at Nick's apartments and fixes up the stuff. He got shot by Wheels. She's just fucking trigger happy, if you remember that. He got shot. And as a lovely update for you guys, where we are now. So, if you guys remember, at the end of where I read, Wheels was calling in a fever house to their bosses. So basically, Tim, because he was in proximity of the hand when he died, the hand kind of possessed him, or the remnant as they call the hand. So let me do my really bad drawing of a hand here. The remnant. So this is the cause of all the problems. My really bad hand drawing. The remnant. Okay? So, the end of where I left off, they were calling in a fever house because at the morgue where Tim's body was brought to, his body got reanimated. Okay? And because it was he got reanimated. It's kind of zombie-like is what I'll say. But they're full of rage and they're just violent and they just want to be violent to other people and bite you because that's how it spreads. So yeah, it's just super violent zombies basically. But so Wheels is calling in a fever house because Tim got reanimated as a zombie and he was biting people in the morgue. They were turning and attacking other people and it quickly got out of control. So Wheels calls in and says, we've got a goddamn fever house, report it, da-da-da. So where we left off is, we've got Lundy, remember Catherine, Nick's mom, and Saint Michael, I don't know why I drew him that way, and a woman named Diane. Yeah. A woman named Diane. So these 4 people they're getting on a plane with a bunch of other military, but I'm not drawing a whole bunch of military people on here. Tripping. So Catherine is being held hostage by Lundy and Diane to get Nick to give him the hand. But remember, Nick decided to leave it. Penny, don't do it. Make good life choices. Thank you. But remember, Nick was like, I gotta get rid of this fucking hand. And he leaves it under a trash can. Right. Penny, go lie down. Don't do it. Make good life choices. So he leaves it under a trash can. Remember, the homeless man Simon has the hand now, but Nick doesn't know that. Lundy doesn't know that. Nick left it under the trash and he was like, fuck this hand, and leaves it He's gone. So Lundy is holding Catherine hostage to Nick, saying, hey, if you want your mom back, just give me the hand. Everything will be cool. So Nick is like, well, fuck. So Lundy takes Catherine and St. Michael, and they're getting on a plane. And Diana's like, yo, you need to call the DOD. Didn't you hear we have a reported confirmed fever house? This is getting out of control. This is out of control now. We need to call the DOD. And Lundy's like, so Diane's like, call DOD. To Lundy's like, F that. To Diane. And it's a mess. Lundy is like, I fucked up. I'm not admitting that I fucked up. Honestly, I wanted to see what would happen if someone died near the hand, because the hand makes you want to either kill yourself or kill others. I was curious what would happen anyway. But, so he's ignoring her, going, yo, this is a big problem. And so Catherine is in her own little weird, like, room cell thing on the big plane. St. Michael is also being brought on the plane, but he's, like, basically dead. He's dying. And he's just lying there strapped to the bed. And he's, like, oozing all this black stuff that I guess is, like, his version of blood. Because he's not human. We don't really know what he is. But I think they've been, because they say that he had wings, remember? That they would cut off a lot to get him to cooperate. So it kind of feels like he's a fallen angel, in a way. And then later, there's some other stuff we talk about with the hand and where it comes from that makes me think maybe he is a fallen angel. But, so Lundy comes into where St. Michael's being strapped down, and he's like, you're dying. And Lundy was like, I was nothing but helpful. And he goes, yeah, and a lot of fucking good it did. The hand's gone. The hand is gone, and, like, every hint you gave me to find it, we didn't find it. And he's like, but Lundy still has the tape for, like, the tongue. And right before St. Michael dies, he's like, you forgot about the eye. And Lundy's like, bitch, say what now? And so Lundy's like, you're fucking lying to me. And St. Michael's like, no. The hand, the tongue, the eye. And so Lundy, because he's a greedy fucker and he wants all of the stuff that'll cause all the problems and he'll have all the power, he, like, gets close to St. Michael, because St. Michael's, like, whispering stuff about it, and St. Michael, like, breaks through his straps and, like, grabs him by the head and, like, pulverizes his head. So, yeah, you guys, Lundy's dead now. But also, so is St. Michael, because he dies too. I felt bad for him because he got captured by humans, and humans did what humans do. So I felt bad for him. He definitely held back a lot. Like, he knew what the hand would do and what the hand was going to cause. And he was like, I'm not telling them bitches. Fuck them. I will give them what the bare minimum that I can to help them. Fuck them. So I liked it. He was petty and I was here for it. Because why are you going to catch me and then cut off my wings when I can't give you the visions that you want? Get fucked. But now, so Catherine, she's on the plane when she hears screaming. And so she decides to, like, take the black bag off of her head. She's still zip-tied, but in the front, like, zip-tied to the front. She goes to look, and she sees Lundy's body. She assumes the other body is St. Michael. And Diane is like, get your stupid ass back in the room. We will shoot you. Now is not the time. And she's like, what the fuck is that? And, like, Lundy's body. Diane's like, back in the room. Or she might be Diana. She's either Diane or Diana. Whatever. And, so Catherine is just going through her own little shit right now. So she's on the plane, and she's just like, I'm being captive on a plane. There isn't really anywhere I can go right now. So I guess I'll sit here. But when the plane lands, she's just in the room. And nobody comes for her. She's just sitting there like, hello, captive here. You forget about me? I used to be famous. Well, she didn't really say that, but, like, if I were her, that'd be me. But turns out everybody dipped and left her behind. Like, they said, we don't need her. Fuck that, they were out. Because Diane is now the de facto leader now that Lundy's dead. And she's like, we're fucked. The government, like, who the people we were working under, we are fucked. Because now there's a different branch of government that's up. God, what is it? Okay. Somewhere past here. It's like, not the it's basically the DOD, but like a step higher. So it's just a higher version of, what, it's just who the, who ARC, with the little group that Lundy was running, who they answer to is now on site trying to figure out what the fuck happened and who the fuck's to blame and stuff. So Diane was like, we're leaving her behind. She can be the scapegoat. And they all dipped. They were like, we're hiding till we can figure out how to fix this and come out the other end not in prison, basically. So these new, we'll just gov buttheads. We'll just do one body to represent all of them. So these new government dicks, they tell Catherine that they have a bunch of evidence to prove that she's been involved with like domestic terrorism, and like her apartment was the hot point for all the meetups and stuff like that, and if she doesn't start cooperating, she's gonna go to prison for a long time. And she's like, I beg your finest pardon, what? None of that is true. And they're like, we have documentation to prove it. And she's like, is this all because of the hand? And that's when they're like, keep talking. So she's like, okay, so they're just going to blackmail me until they get the hand. She's like, I don't have the hand. They're like, we hear your son might have the hand. She's like, yeah, they're definitely just trying to blackmail me to get my son to come here and get the hand. And she's like, I literally don't know where my son is. They're like, you can call him or something. Call him or something. So she calls Nick. And then we'll get back to that part. Because she calls Nick. And Nick is like... Nick basically tells them when he does talk to them. And he's like... I don't have the hand anymore. They're like, bull fucking shit you don't. And he goes, no, I threw it under a dumpster. He gives them where the dumpster was. He's like, yeah, I threw it under there. So... yeah. And they're like... sweet mother of fucking God. Like, they're pissed. Okay. And that's kind of where Catherine's up. Well, I'll just finish what happens with Catherine so I can jump around a little bit, because a lot of stuff happened in this last part, so I was kind of figuring out how I wanted to talk about this. So, so basically what happens is Catherine is still held in like a little holding cell, and like this lady comes in, and she's like the good cop who's there to just like hang out with her and make her feel more at home, make her want to talk more, things like that. But and like they take off her like her zip ties, and Catherine gets the jump on her and takes her gun and is like, I'll fucking shoot you. And it's like, will you though? You sound scared. But she like leaves, and the lady's like, yo, you can leave. Like, there's one person out there who, his name is Manny. You could leave. Like, Manny won't stop you. But like, there's literally nowhere for you to go out there, because she's not in Portland anymore. She's in fucking Chicago. So, and she doesn't know this yet. So she's like, she leaves. Like, even Manny is like, there's literally nowhere for you to go. Like, what are you going to do? So, but she leaves because she's like, I'm not going to be here anymore where y'all are blackmailing me and probably going to kill me and my son when, and if he shows up with or without the hand, we're probably dead anyway. So she leaves. And so while she's stumbling around out there, she finally runs into a woman who, eventually, after realizing that this woman, that Catherine is in distress and not just crazy, tells her, yeah, you're in Chicago. And she's like, they brought me all the way to fucking Chicago? God damn it. So they live in Portland. Okay? So she's like, fuck. Okay. Fuckity fuck. So she goes to like this little bodega, little convenience store. She goes into the bathroom and she like washes up a little bit. She uses the bathroom because she's had to pee for like the fucking longest time. And she steals her nerves. She's like, I have to do this to survive, to get back to my son. She feels so bad. She goes up to the teenager who's working and she's like, I'm so sorry. And like shows the gun a little bit. And he's like, ah, come on. She goes, just give me the money in the cash register. I'm so sorry. She gives him the money and she's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, man, just fuck off. And so she leaves with the money. And it's like the cutest robbery ever. 'Cause she's just, I'm so sorry, please just give me the money. And he's like, this is bullshit. But So we talked about this in part 1, I hope. She used to be part of a very famous band. It was called like Lost, either Little Letters or Lost Letters, something like that. We'll just call it Letters because that's what it was kind of abbreviated to. And they were really good. They got really famous really fast because of Catherine's voice and the lyrics to their songs and stuff. And so one of her former bandmates happens to live in Chicago. So she goes to him and she's staying there. Or like she goes there, she shows up and he's like, I'm not even going to question why you're here at like fucking midnight. Sure, come on in. And so he gets her a drink and they reminisce about old times for a little bit. And she sits down, she just kind of tells him what's going on. And he's like, whether or not I believe you is kind of irrelevant because you're fucking here. So, honestly, whatever, is basically the gist I got from how he reacted. Like, that's a true friend. He was like, look, whether or not this is really happening, you're here at my house. So, whatever. You can stay here if you need to till you can figure out how to get back home. Whatever is basically what happened. So that's where her part ends for now. And then we don't really get much from her until the end of the book. So we'll jump to Nick. So Nick, and what the fuck is this hacker dude's name? Like, I've been calling him Rockman, but I have this very, yep, I was right, Rockman. Okay, so Nick and this hacker dude named Rockman are traveling to California, I think it is. Rockman is someone Nick has worked with before to find stuff for Peach, like rare things and stuff. Rockman's very good at finding those kind of things, like different like files, things like that. If it's online, Rockman can find it. So Nick is with him because he's like, hey, I have this money I can pay you. I'm kind of in a fucking bind. I need to find information on some government shit that's happening. That these government people have my mom. Da-da-da. He tells Rockman what's going on. And again, Nick's like, he's not going to believe me. Oh my God. And Rockman's like, all right, I'll see what I can do. And Nick's like, you believe me? He's like, you're paying me. I don't fucking care if this is fake or not. You're paying me. Whatever. So literally Rockman's helping him because he's paying him for his time. He's paying him like $10,000 to help him find out about this secret government organization that's kidnapped his mom, that's trying to get the remnant back. All of that. This dude isn't ride or die. He's ride or money. So we'll add Nick back to the board. I'll put him right here. Nick and Rockman. And they're going to California because Rockman found a lead. It's a woman that he knows that he gets information from time to time, but she doesn't do like online meetups, phone calls, nothing. If you want to talk to her, you go to her. She doesn't trust the government. She's been living kind of off the grid, but not really because she does like tarot readings and stuff. It's very weird. They go to meet this woman and she's not in the book for long, so I'm not going to put her up on the board. But she basically tells him that for a while she was working for this government agency where she was a viewer, is what they called it. Where she would do what St. Michael did, but on a lower level. So she would have visions of things, and it would help the government do things that they needed to do. But when they found Michael, he was like spot on with those visions. And so Lundy started to really favor Michael, and he was not... And she would say Lundy was not shy about like abusing the people that were not doing what he wanted them to do, things like that. But they start talking and talking. The lady brings up the hand. She talks about how the hand is from a devil, basically, is what she tells Nick, is the hand comes from a devil. Not the devil, a devil. And it's the hand, the tongue, the eye, but it can be any parts of the body. But she tells him, because Nick knows that there's the hand, they suspect that there's the tongue, there's like a lyrics to his mom's song that became the tongue. She tells them, oh, there's also an eye. And he's like, Jesus fuck, what? There's more pieces? And she knows the person who has the eye. So she gives them that address. And this man's name is like... Let's see. God, what the fuck is his name? His name is like Good or something like that. I'm just going to call him G. Yep, Good. I was right. Good. So they go to Good, and he's like super, super old at this point, and he tells them the history of the eye. He tells them there's been multiple, like, the remnant, like, this hand is not the only hand that's ever been out there. Like, you can make these from a devil, and basically a devil is just someone who sacrifices themselves to have the parts of their body become these remnants, basically. And so he's explaining how he's had the eye all these years, and the eye, you can only use it once, and it shows you your death. And so he said through seeing this eye, he knew that Nick and Rockman were going to come to him, and they're like, dude, we'll pay you for the eye. We need it. And he's like, you don't have to pay it. I'm just going to give it to you. Like I said, I knew this was going to happen. I've seen all of this happen when I looked into the eye to see my death. And so he's like, here's the eye. And the reason why this is important is because Nick wants to use it to barter for his mom, but also the eye kind of ties into, well, yeah, the tongue and the hand all come from the one devil. So we'll put devil down here, and this all also ties into Nick and Catherine somehow. They're involved in this, and Nick is starting to figure that out. Like, for some reason, his mom's song lyrics are tied to this too. So Good gives him the eye, and then he slits his throat immediately. He's like, here it is. And they're like, okay. So now they go back to Portland. And Portland is fucked. Okay. So Portland is fucked. They go to Nick's apartment. And this is where we get two other characters. Okay, so we've got, we'll put them right here. The bitch Wheels and John Bonner. So now we'll jump to what they've been up to. So Wheels and John Bonner, after they called in the Fever House, they go back to Camelot, the point on base where Ark was like chilling and stuff. And they get to the base. And remember, Lundy is taking Catherine and St. Michael and Diane and got on the plane. The base is completely cleaned out. It's just the two of them. And John's like, son of a bitch, they left us? They're gone? And Wheels is like, looks like it. Hey, you still got those plates in your vest? And John, he's like, yeah. And he looks up, and Wheels is pointing at him over their car, and she shoots him in the head. So, and then she takes off. So she's like, we get her backstory now at this point, and you learn about where she graduated, how she grew up, how she got recruited, all of that. You learn all of that, and I was just kind of like, you're still a shitty person. Like, so she gets recruited into, like, spy school is what I'll call it, and then she gets headhunted by Lundy, and she becomes like Lundy's, like, basically he said, you're my gun. And so she would literally kill whoever Lundy said, and her whole life became keep doing things for him. And so the fact that she's been abandoned by him, and now he's not answering his phone because she doesn't know that he's dead at this point. So he's left her, and he's not answering his phone or nothing. She's like, I've been abandoned. I have literally no idea what to do now. So now she's just driving around trying to figure out what to do. She's trying to get a hold of Diane, her old handler, to figure out, like, well, what the absolute fuck. Okay. So eventually Diane does call her, and she's like, look, as you know, we have a fever house. Portland's fucking falling apart. Shit's going down. But we have a way out of this. There are just some things I need you to do, and then we can get out of this on the other side. And so Wheels is like, okay, well, tell me what to do. So Wheels goes back to Nick's apartment. Now, remember, I said Nick said these two were at his apartment. So Wheels, at the last minute, just redraw it. She, like, pulls her gun or moves it so that she doesn't actually shoot him in the head. He's got, like, a big ol' swollen eye and a horrible headache, but he's not dead. But he's like, this bitch shot me and then left me here. So he, like, leaves the base, and he's stumbling around for a little bit, looking at all the crazy shit happening, just seeing people randomly attacking people. He sees one guy who's limping towards him, like actually running full force toward him, but his ankle is broken and he's running on the bone with the leg flopping, with the foot flopping behind him. And he's like, the fuck? So he can see that this is a bad situation too. So he goes to the police station. He's like, okay, if anything, that place should be fortified and safe. So he's there for a little bit, and they've started shooting at the fevered ones, is what they're calling them, from the top of the building. They're just like sniper shooting anyone that looks fevered. And after a while, he's like, damn, wait a minute, what if they can be cured? I don't want to do this anymore. And we get John's backstory about how he ended up being sent to that task force as kind of like a get out of jail free card, because while he was undercover during protests, he accidentally killed someone who he thought had a gun and was going to start shooting, and he choked him out to death, but the guy had an air gun painted black. So his uncle, who's the head of this really powerful weapons company, pulls some strings to get him sent to this place instead of having him be like, I was the one who killed them, and have him go to prison, basically. So we get his whole backstory, and you feel for him a little bit. You're like, okay, I see you fucked up. You feel bad that you fucked up. At least you feel bad that you fucked up. You are still hiding behind your uncle's money, though, and not taking accountability for what you did, kind of thing. But, so all of that's been in his head since it happened. So while he's up there shooting people, he's like, crap, wait, what if they can be cured? So he's like, I don't want to be here anymore. So he leaves the base, and they're like, bro, you're leaving? He goes, yeah, my partner is still out there. They're like, respect. We'll take a gun. No car, though, but you can take this gun and go find her. So he's going out there, and then he has this thought that, like, everything that's fucking happening in some way connects back to fucking Nick and Catherine, and the fucking song that the Letters wrote and sang that's being used as the tongue. And so while he's making his way back there, his uncle from that super weapons company calls him, and he's like, what the fuck is going on, Unc? And Uncle's like, don't you worry about it. We're figuring out a way out of this. Hey, so for the next couple of hours, even if your phone rings, maybe don't answer it. And John's like, beg your pardon? And his uncle's like, yeah, just no big deal. We're figuring it out. We got a plan. Everything's going to be okay. You know, sometimes when there's a problem, you need to nip it at the source instead of letting it grow. We also need to send a message out to everyone that despite this, we are not weak. And John's like, hold up, what? That does not sound good. And Uncle's like, yeah, just don't answer the phone for the next couple of hours, okay? Bye! Basically is what happens. And John's like, what? So John goes back to Nick and Catherine's apartment. Like, the door's still open and stuff because they left in a hurry after shooting the maintenance guy. And so he gets there, and he's going through, like, in Nick's room. Nick has a bunch of papers and stuff about his dad, like how his dad killed himself and, like, what his dad was doing and going through. Ooh, cotton mouth. Like, and all that. And he's putting all these papers out, and all of a sudden fucking Wheels shows up. And he's like, you shot me. And she goes, you're not dead. And he's like, what are we doing? And she's like, I've been ordered to burn all this. And he's like, wait, why? We have answers in here. And she goes, I've been told to burn all this, so that's exactly what I'm doing. And he's like, you're just a fucking yes man. She goes, and it's gonna keep me alive. And I shit you not, as she's saying this, fucking Hutch. Y'all remember Hutch. This whole story started with him. I was rooting for him. I really was. But he got bit twice. So remember, he went to Don Sr.'s house to get more money and clothes and stuff. And Don Sr. was already zombified and bit him in the arm. And then while he was out and about, just trying to survive with a bullet wound, he got bit again. And you get a little bit of his perspective as the fever starts to take over, and he knows that's it for him, but he doesn't have like the strength to pull the trigger. So he gets turned, and what he notices is that the fever makes you go back to, like, if you have a point or a thought in your head, or like a significant spot, it makes you go back to that significant spot. So Hutch has gone back to Catherine and Nick's place. And Hutch sneaks up behind Wheels and bites her in the neck. And so John's like, ah, and it shoots Hutch in the head, and then he looks at Wheels, and she's got this big bite, and you know she's done for. And so she's like, fuck you, god damn it, fuck you, to John, and then she shoots herself in the head. So Wheels is officially dead. I was very happy when I read that, but very sad that Hutch is dead. I don't know why, but I was rooting for him. Okay, so now John is like, well, fuck. So now he's going through the papers, and that's when Nick and Rockman show up. And John is like, yo. And Nick's like, hey, you're one of the fuckers that took my mom. And John's like, yeah, that's me. And John's like, enough of that. How did your dad die? And Nick's like, fuck you. And so that's when it jumps to Catherine's point of view of how their dad died. So John's dad, I don't feel like looking up his name because I don't know how much longer my battery has. Fine, I'll do it. You talked me into it. Oh my god. You talked me into it. Boo, 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 boo. Matthew. That's such a boring name. So, Matthew. Sorry to all the Matthews out there. Oh my god, sorry to my cousin. Whoa, I apologize. So, John's dad, Matthew, they ended up divorcing because after the band split up and they were just living their life and stuff, Matthew went to a really dark place. Like, he was a raging alcoholic, he was doing other drugs, he had anger issues, and he just wasn't being a very good husband and dad. And it got to a point where Catherine was like, you gotta go. This is not okay. So she kicks him out, and he goes to stay at these apartments and stuff. And at the time, Nick is like 13, I think, when this happens. And Catherine starts to feel bad. She can tell that the separation is really affecting her son. So one day she decides to go see Matthew to see if they can like reconcile and maybe try to patch things up. She's doing it only for her son because she can tell that not having his dad around is really like messing with him, and she feels bad and she wants the best for her son. So she goes to Matthew's, and she can tell right away that it's like all bad over there. He's dirty, greasy, smelly. The apartment smells like the windows and doors have been closed ever since he moved in. Like, it stinks in there. And she goes in, like, he pulls her in and closes the door, and he's already talking like super fast, and she's like, oh my god, he's not on his meds. She's like, well, I regret this decision immediately because I'm here now and all this. And she sees on his floor there's this giant pool of blood, and she's like, whose fucking blood is that? Because that's more blood than what he would be able to bleed and still be alive, if that makes sense. And he's like talking, he's going on and on about stuff that she does not understand. He's talking about, he told me that I would come back better or something like that. And he has his back to her, and like his face was like, one of his eyes was covered, and when he turns around, he's holding his hands out like this to her, and his hands have like a little bit of blood and then an eye. And she looks up, and he fully took out his whole eye, the all of it. Like, there's the eye, and you know that little veiny part. Eye, not sperm. And so she's like, fuck that, and she sees that and she dips. And so he was saying something like, he told me I would come back better. And what he said before offering her the eyeball. And she said deuces and left. And then after that is when he commits suicide by jumping off of a bridge. And what people noted when he did that was he didn't have a hand. Obviously, his eye was missing, and when they found his body, his tongue was missing. And so people decided it was, in fact, Penny, no. Go lie down, babe. People decided that it was, in fact, a suicide because of the condition he was in. And when they searched his apartment, they found all that stuff, the condition of the apartment. They found some journals, and they were like, yeah, this was suicide. So that's why it was deemed a suicide. So the remnant, so the hand, the tongue that one of the scientists put her lyrics, turn that into like a death song basically, and then the eye. So the three parts of the devil all came from Nick's dad. So Nick's dad is the devil that the tarot reader was talking about, because she said anybody can be a devil, you just have to offer the right sacrifices, and then your body parts become the remnants. And so that's what they find out. So that's what he finds out, and he's like, well, fuck. And so just as he's coming to this realization, his phone, they all ring at once. Nick doesn't answer his because he's still looking down at his dad's journal and going, this is all my dad's fault? Are we fucking serious? That's been my dad's severed hand I've been holding my dad's severed hand? I hid my dad's severed hand under a fucking dumpster? Wait a minute, that eyeball? That's my dad's eye? Like, he's literally going through, like, a whole bunch of shock. But Rockman answers his phone. And Nick is like, that's my mom's song he hears. And as soon as Rockman hears it, all of a sudden his face changes. It becomes like, I think they said becomes like kind of grayish, and like he gets filled, like this look of rage comes on his face. Like he starts screaming, and then it cuts to Catherine in her friend Arthur, the former bandmate's bathroom. She's like just breathing in there, like washing her face, and the shower opens behind her, and she hears Arthur's phone ring. She hears him pick it up. And as the shower door opens, she sees this horribly rotting, mutilated looking version of Matthew, her ex-husband, step out of the shower. And he looks like a decomposed corpse, kind of. And she's like, holy shit, this is real. Like, this is really him? Like, wait a minute. This is really him. And as she's realizing that that's really Matthew stepping out of the shower and stepping and reaching for her, like, my love, all of a sudden she hears Arthur screaming on the other side of the bathroom door, and like he's kicking the door and like banging on the door trying to get in. He's like attacking the door in a violent rage. And Catherine's like, what the fuck is happening? So she grabs her gun and she opens the door, and Arthur's like full on, he looks the way Rockman did. His eyes are all like bloodshot, angry, pissed off, and he's trying to attack her. And so she, having no choice, shoots him because he's literally attacking her to try and kill her. And so what happened was John's uncle, the company that, one of his weapons companies, they took the song, because Lundy would carry it around on a flash drive on his neck. When Lundy died, Diane took the flash drive and gave it to the government buttholes. And so his uncle took the song and they turned it into a message, a broadcast to send. And apparently what happened is, instead of sending it to the targeted few they meant to, they accidentally sent it fucking worldwide to every cell phone. So anybody who picked up their phone and listened to that song immediately got filled with the, like, blinding rage desire to either kill themselves or kill others. And that's how Fever House ends. There is a book 2, and I am purchasing it. But that is how book 1 ends, with everybody going fucking crazy, or anybody who listening to the song, getting the blind-filled rage. So that's how and it's a duology, I believe, so it's just going to be those 2 books. But that's how Fever House officially ends. And oh my god, as you can see, this was a wild fucking thing to read. Like, Jesus, so much happens in such a small, like, this book is only 420, like, the exact number. For a book that's only 420, or no, these you get a little sample from The Devil by Name is what book 2 is. But 412 pages. I feel like for 412 pages, that's a lot of stuff to have happened. And I enjoyed every page. I feel like the pacing was really good. You felt for a lot of characters. Like, Saint Michael, I felt really bad for. Hutch, I felt really bad for. Even though Hutch is technically a bad guy in this book, like, you feel for them. I didn't give a shit about Wheels. I was kind of glad that she died. I'm interested to learn more about Matthew. I feel like we'll learn more about him in book 2, since they just discovered that he's the reason why the remnant and the eye and the tongue exist. I'm very excited. I want to know how Catherine gets back to Portland to her son safely. This was just, it was an interesting read. It was really fun. It was an interesting take on how a zombie apocalypse could start. And I'm very excited to get book 2. Yeah. For my next review, I have this lovely book, The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre. It is, if you can guess, it's set in a retirement home. Hi, Drogo. It's set in a retirement home where the residents are starting to be murdered. And one of the residents there decides she's going to try and solve the case because everyone is just thinking they're all just old people who are, you know, dying. So I have a little bit of ways to go before I get to my halfway point where I'll start reviewing, but that will be one of my next reviews. That is all I have for you. My dogs are telling me that I need to feed them, so I'm going to go now. Bye-bye.